You've probably seen the clips floating around Ayesha Curry speaking about her husband, Steph Curry, in a way many people call disrespectful. But what most people missed was who was sitting right beside her. It wasn't just another woman on a talk show. It was Steph Curry's mother, Sonia Curry. And if we know anything about that family story, you know Sonia reportedly disrespected and eventually divorced Steph's father, Dale Curry. So the day isn't about gossip or celebrity drama. It's about what this moment reveals: a generational pattern of women undermining male authority, and how that same spirit is silently tearing down homes all across our culture. Aisha spoke freely, even proudly, about not wanting marriage or children at first, and about her independent mindset, all while her mother-in-law, Sonia, sat there smiling. That wasn't just a casual talk show moment. That was agreement. You could feel the absence of reverence, not just for her husband, but for the sacred order God designed for her home. See, when a mother disrespects her husband, she doesn't just damage her marriage. She trains her son to expect dishonor. He grows up believing it's normal for a woman to speak over men, to challenge leadership publicly, to equate submission with weakness. So when that son becomes a husband, he either avoids confrontation or accepts disrespect because it's familiar. That's what he's always seen. And that's how generational disorder begins. The spirit of dishonor didn't start with the Currys. It started in the Garden of Eden. Eve lived in paradise. She had beauty, peace, provision, and a husband who loved her. And yet, dissatisfaction still found a place in her heart. The serpent didn't tempt her with hunger. He tempted her with more. He whispered, you could have greater wisdom, greater control, greater independence. And that's the same whisper women still hear today. You deserve more. You shouldn't have to submit. You can lead better than him. Eve's downfall wasn't about a piece of fruit. It was about the inability to be content with God's design. And that one moment of discontentment set in motion a fall of mankind. That same spirit is still at work. When women find themselves unsatisfied, not because their home lacks love, but because their hearts crave power, they repeat the same mistake that caused paradise to collapse. Genesis 3:16 says, your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. That word desire means a longing to control, to overtake. It's the root of rebellion that still challenges divine order today. But God's structure was never about domination. It was about protection and harmony. 1 Corinthians 11:3 says, the head of every man is Christ. The head of woman is man. And the head of Christ is God. That's not hierarchy for pride. That's divine flow for peace. When women step outside that design in the name of freedom, they often end up weary, anxious, and unfulfilled. Because rebellion against order will always produce chaos, no matter how good it looks in the beginning. Proverbs 14:1 says, A wise woman builds her house, but a foolish one tears it down with her own hands. And sometimes those hands are manicured and smiling while destruction quietly sets in. Let's be clear. I'm not against women being strong. I'm against strength without structure. Modern feminism teaches independence from men, but ends up producing isolation from God. It says, lead your own way, but forgets that authority is a covering, not a cage. When women reject covering, they invite confusion. When men abandon leadership, they create chaos. And together, they raise children who don't know who's in charge, not because anyone is evil, but because no one is aligned. Eve's dissatisfaction still echoes through time, a warning to every generation. If the garden wasn't enough for her, what makes us think contentment will come from control? So what do? We start where the problem started, in the home. To women watching, guard your heart against the spirit of dissatisfaction. If Eve could lose paradise by wanting more, what do you think discontentment can do in your home? Be careful what you entertain when you feel unseen or unheard. That's when the serpent whispers the loudest. Honor your husband, not because he's flawless, but because it honors God's order. Your posture toward your husband, your attitude toward your husband becomes your daughter's pattern. And it becomes the blueprint for your son to allow himself to be treated in a specific way that disrespects and dishonors him. If you roll your eyes at leadership, your daughter will do the same. If you speak honor, even when you disagree, you train your children to respect divine structure. Stop being simps, going along with whatever the woman says. If you the head, be the head. I will say it again. Men, stop being passive. You can't lead what you won't confront. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Lead with humility, but lead. Because when you step back, disorder steps in. Every generation either breaks a curse or repeats it. The question is, which one are you going to do in your home? This isn't about Steph and Ayesha Curry. It's about all of us. Eve had paradise and still wasn't satisfied. If we don't guard our hearts, that same spirit will keep tearing down what God built to last. When women forsake reverence and men forsake leadership, the family loses its foundation. Culture doesn't collapse overnight. It crumbles one home at a time. So let's rebuild. Let's realign. Let's restore God's design, one truth, one heart, and one home at a time. If this message spoke to you, join me this Wednesday for intercessory prayer as we lift up families. And again on Saturday for Teen Bible Study as we teach the next generation what honor really looks like. Because family still matters, and so does order. May God richly bless you.